This is the Fight for Your Health, the show that teaches you how to master the fine art of living your life on purpose and have a longer, healthier, and happier life through the martial arts lifestyle. The show is hosted by Professor Buitron and his co-host, Grand Master Richard Hackworth. These two experts have combined their efforts and are on a mission to make the world a safer, healthier, and happier place through the martial arts lifestyle. Now, to tell it like it is, here are your...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's that time of the week that you've all been waiting for, the Fight for Your Health TV show here on YouTube and Facebook and social media outlets everywhere with your host, Professor Buitron. I am your lovely and talented and extremely modest co-host, Richard Hackworth. And today we have an incredible special guest coming to us. And if you're watching the show live, click live in the comments. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and type replay. And we look forward to you enjoying this show. Welcome to the show, sir.
Oh, welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Hello, sir. You said welcome. Hello.
You know, this is a great show, but I want to talk a little bit about you. I want to number one, because you know, in the world of martial arts, we meet a lot of people that influence us in many different ways and influence others just by the way they are and the way they carry themselves and what they teach and what they symbolize for the art. And Guro Carlito Bonjoc is that type of teacher, is that type of individual, is that type of martial artist that inspires many, teaches many, and not only does his teachings go there, the people that learn from him actually continue practicing and using them. That's a specialty about him. And you know, I consider him a brother. Guru, how you been? You been good?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great, Paul. Fantastic, man. Doing what we can to stay healthy. You know, I don't know, Mr. Hasworth, in March I had a surgery. I'm wheelchair bound, and so I had a pressure wound that turned into gangrene, and so that was in March, and I had several surgeries in March to clean that up, and so I've been recovering from that, and then so it's really small now, but the problem is that the tissue around it is resisting, and so I have so the doctor have to go in there and debride it and clean it up, so that way it can heal fully. But the hospital that I'm going to be sent to, they're backed up, you know, and so they have a lot of cases that are backed up, and then so I'm going to have to wait longer. So it's a little bit frustrating. It's been over 6 months, and I'm still not fully healed. And so, but you know what, man, we do what we can. You know, I've been in a long fight most of my life in different ways. And so I'm not one to give up, and we're just gonna continue to fight.
Absolutely. And Godspeed, and our prayers are with you. And I know that it's been something that has been with you for a while. And I think what we need to, we'll touch base on, let's touch base on a little bit of you in the martial arts. How, just get, for the folks out there that don't know who you are, just explain a little bit about what martial art, everything else, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I've had a kind of a unique journey. I was born with spina bifida, and then so, but I'm really fortunate that in my younger days I was able to walk, and I walk with a limp, and then so you know, so I started my practice of martial arts then, you know, and so I've studied different a little bit of boxing, some karate, and then most of my training has been in the Filipino martial arts, and so my growth in it, you know, so you know, so as a young kid practicing, and you know, so it was, you know, it was a way of like an escape for me, you know. I wasn't accepted to do any other sports. And I was always, when we played games, physical games at school, I was the last one they'd pick, and I was the only one left. So whoever got me, the team that got me. And so that was the thing, there was a lot of things I couldn't do. In a lot of sports I couldn't really participate in. And but the Filipino martial arts gave me that way, and I fell in love with it. And so it's been traditionally in our family. And so I really enjoyed it. And and then over the years, for one reason or another, my condition got worse. I went from being able to walk to have to use a cane, then to having transitioned to crutches, and then I contracted a bone disease, and so I had a bone infection on my right foot, and so they had to amputate my leg, and being that my left leg is my weak leg, so I fall easy, and then so I maneuver much better in a wheelchair. So all those years I have had to transition my way of practice and my way of understanding martial arts to specifically for me had evolved and changed. And then also because I made a decision to teach in the 80s, that I had to be mindful that I know it's going to work for me. It's very unique, very specific for me, but I had to be mindful that, most of my students are going to be able-bodied. And so I had to really learn how to teach, how to coach. And so, there's been some challenging times, I knew I had to work a little extra harder, because people judge you, and because of my physical challenges, I wasn't always the one they would come to study with. And some people, they give you a pat in the back. Yeah, good for you, man. Oh my gosh, and it's good. Oh wow, it's wonderful for the handicapped guy to study martial arts, and so I had to work harder to earn my respect, man. No, this is my place. I know my martial arts. I know how to teach. I know how to coach. And my students who are able-bodied, they can fight just as well as anyone else. So I just work hard to earn my spot. And then, I have wonderful friends from all over the world. Like one Paul Buitron here that I met years ago, and don't judge me like that, and help elevate me by giving me exposure and being my friend and involving me with these events. And when I have things that I'm involved with, he's always ready to help. And so it's that community that has expanded from what we have here in Stockton, then especially now with the broader audience with social media. And so that's my story, sir.
I think your story is very inspiring. And you mentioned something about sometimes maybe you were overlooked because of your challenges physically. But I can tell you that I don't see that same judgment in other fields of physical human endeavor. Professional football coaches and professional boxing coaches, they're never judged by that. And I find it interesting that in the martial arts community, where we're supposed to build each other up and uplift each other, there's so much judgment. And I think that I grew up in a situation where I learned that that's not how you judge people. My father was wheelchair bound. So, and he was a husband, a father, a provider. He taught me how to throw a football and play catch with a baseball and how to swim. So what people might see as a physical weakness or challenge don't understand the power of the spirit and the mind and what people are capable of. One of the smartest, most intelligent men of our lifetime, Stephen Hawkins, was in a wheelchair. And
Yes.
he's the greatest mind of the
man.
last century. Yeah. And so I just, it baffles me when I see that kind of judgment in the martial arts community. And I think also that like the battles that you've had health-wise make you a great guest, because I think that you can inspire our listeners to push past the physical and to continue to live their daily lives in a positive manner. And especially when you come from a system that Serrata Escrima is highly respected around the world. I really had an opportunity to attend a couple of seminars on Serrata Escrima with Jimmy Tacosa when he was here in Florida. And it's an amazing system. And so when I found out that you are part of that system, I was excited to know that you were going to be a guest on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I was wondering if you could share with our listeners, what was your inspiration for learning martial arts? What first got you into it? Because for like a lot of my generation, a lot of us, we saw our first Bruce Lee movie or something.
Yeah.
And so what was your inspiration to get started?
Bruce Lee was definitely part of it, but my inspiration, I mean, I guess my hero was my father. As in the Philippines, he fought bare knuckle. He was a boxer, and so he was so we had that in our background. My grandfather was a practitioner of Filipino martial arts, and so that's what's always been in the family, and and the thing though is that I when I was young in the Philippines, my father wasn't ready to train me. He just felt that I wasn't ready. And my sister, who's 2 years older than I, she was already training. And so we moved here when I was 10 years old. And then when we came here, that was the first time I experienced other races, we lived in a small village in southern Philippines, and so everybody around me were the same, and we had a Japanese family, and so that was the only ones we knew, and so when I first started school here, we had. We were in South Stockton, and economically it's a challenge economically, and but we had everybody there. We had African American, Hispanics, Filipinos, Chinese, just a melting pot of people, and but I'm the new guy. I didn't speak English. I dressed differently, and then so I was the guy to pick on, and then so what got me into the started teaching, what got my dad and his friends to start teaching me was because I got bullied at school, and my sister is actually the one that convinced my father to start teaching me, and that's how I started my training. But in reality, it was my dad that inspired me, and then definitely Bruce Lee, man.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee was the guy.
So beyond being a sport or a hobby, the martial arts is a family tradition for you.
Yes, it's a family tradition for us. Yeah.
Now, do you think that there are other aspects of the Filipino culture that play into like your ability to fight past your health challenges and be the example that you are to others?
You know what it is, sir? We had a lot of challenges, in the Philippines, economically, and so the area where we lived, my parents, they were educators. My parents were both teachers, and so they had steady income, and so. But in our area, most of the people that live there in the village, they work for a landlord, and then so in working in farms, agriculture, and then also a lot of fishing. We're close to the ocean, and so it was that industry. It was the basic like fishing and farming, and so. Unless you own the boat to go fishing, or you own the land, so your income was very low, And if you were fortunate enough to have a landlord that would give you a little spot of land that you can grow your own stuff, then you're much better off. So that was always a struggle, and my parents were very aware of that, and they were both fortunate that they were able to have parents that had the money to send them to school and to give them a better lifestyle. And but when we moved to our area, that was the experience. And so, as a kid, you just play, but you notice the struggle in the community. You learn to be frugal. You learn to fight through things. You learn to fix things when they're broke. And so so that was the thing. It was always a way to find a solution. You didn't have any choice. For the family that that got sick in the Philippines, that didn't have the access to doctors, they had traditional medicine. But they had to make sure that they were healthy. They were eating as well as they can, and they just had to fight through it, man. And that was the thing, And so that was the example that I had. That community that I lived in, people that didn't have that was economically disadvantaged, and watched them fight through life. And I think we carried that, my sister and I, when we were here. And so that was the thing, man. So you just didn't have any choice. You have the situation that you're in, and you just, what are you gonna do? But give up? That's not in my DNA.
Right.
And so and then I had parents who were great examples of that. And so my parents were fighters, and my sister and I learned that. And so that's basically what it was, And then I just didn't like being told I couldn't do nothing, man. And I really had something to prove. It was an ego thing for me. Partly as that drove me. And so I had to find a way that I can be normal. And so I was young. I needed that kind of approval. And so I laugh about it now, but it is what it is, and then so we want to be accepted, and I found my place in martial arts. So
I think you made some very excellent points for the viewers, and also I've been extremely impressed by the strength of the independent will and perseverance of the Filipino people. They are not capable of being oppressed. The Spanish tried, the Japanese tried, and I think that independent philosophy of the Filipino people really shines through, not just in your life, but as a culture in general. And I know I'm going to let Professor Buitron get into like some more martial arts related questions, but it's been a real honor to get to speak with you this morning, and I appreciate you.
Wow, I really enjoyed your questions, sir. It really allowed me to share. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
My question is more of an observation. You mentioned one thing, and you mentioned problem solving. You have to find a solution, and I see that in the way you teach. I see that in Cerrada, in Escrima. You have to find that solution in order for you to persevere. If you're going to win, if you have that fighter mentality in there, you're going to find the counter to that counter. You're going to find the solution to get out of that entrapment that you were in for you to win. And that's what I see from you all over in Stockton, because you all embraced me as a brother, coming in from a different art as per se, and all of you all over there. And I saw that, not only that fellowship, that family unit, that we're here, we're the ones that are here. Even though there were the different systems and styles there, everybody was still together in a fellowship way. The respect was there, that was given to everybody. Everybody was gurus as per se, or masters at in their arts, but that respect, that brigade system was there. Nobody was, I'm higher than you, I'm more than you. Everybody knew their place in there, and everybody was learning from everybody. And to me, I think that's a beautiful thing that I don't see elsewhere. You know, you'll see it in organizations, but it's that organization that's putting it together. For example, karate organization, it's going to have those members that are in that organization are going to be in that organization, and they themselves are going to have that fellowship. But when they try to branch out, there's a type of prejudice against it, and I don't see that with especially you all in Stockton. Okay.
Yeah, you know, we have our challenges too, you know,
Sure.
but for the most part, that we do have that feeling of community, you know, and so, but you know, that's a Filipino thing too, man. You know,
Yeah.
you know, in many of us, we learned from, you know, many of us back in the 70s and the 80s, many of us were Filipinos practicing our martial arts, and we had awesome teachers who welcomed non-Filipinos. I mean, that was something else, you know. And so Angel Cabalas, Leo Hiron, you know, and Gilbertino, they openly taught it to the public, and so that was a great thing, you know, and so but you know, but that feeling, I mean, but the tradition of hospitality, you know, so that's what you do, you know. Traditionally in our culture, you know, if a stranger comes to town, you make sure that they eat, they're not hungry, they need a place to stay, give them a place to stay, you know, and you give up your best food, you know, you take care of them because they're your guests. And so I think we carry that in Stockton, that, you know, everybody's welcome. And I like that part of it, you know, because that's what the way it should be. And so, you know, so, you know, something great like the Filipino martial arts and other arts from other culture, it should be shared, you know, so that way everybody can, I mean, what an amazing world we have. We have different ways of thinking, different ways of doing things, and different food, you know, and that's what makes it exciting, man. You know, jeez, man, if I had to, I love Filipino food, don't get me wrong, and I like to eat rice almost every day, you know, but I like other dishes too. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
What would you say is the hardest thing for a student to learn within the Escrima world?
Um, Many with Filipino martial arts, you know, especially with the Stockton styles, you know, and so, you know, the style in Stockton that came out first was Serrata, and so that sort of became the language of Escrima in Stockton, and then so, you know, so. We had great teachers, you know, Angel Cabalas, of course, and then Leo Hiron, he had his style, and Gilbertino had his style, and others had their style, you know. But when it came to the language and even the presentation of the numbering system, you know, pretty much Serrata became the language of Stockton, and so you know, and so many of us here, you know, we were taught traditionally, you know, that process, and so you know, so the challenging part, I think, for most people is that they don't, especially, you know, with the different generations, with the new generation, you know, it's different for them. You know, they want to be entertained. You know, you know, so in my generation, we tend to be more patient. You know, we're waiting for the teacher to reveal, you know, what the next thing is. You know, and the following generations after that, you know, they were eager to just get the information. And so you have to, you know, as a teacher, you know, like me, I like teaching traditionally, but at the same time, I have to find a way to keep things interesting, so that way my students continue to be focused, and so that so gives him a chance to and let them learn patience, and then give them enough so that way they stay interested, give them things that are fun, but at the same time let them be patient to earn what they're learning, and so the challenge is finding that kind of balance for me. And so I don't know about the other instructors, and so but that's my approach. So I want to make it fun, I want to give information out, but at the same time I just don't want to just put it out there. We have to earn that, so that way we value it. And so that's the most important thing, teaching the young ones, your students, to value what they're learning. So
Absolutely.
I do have a quick question.
yes, sir.
Kind of a professional opinion from you. When I was in high school, I got really into action movies, and I was wondering what your opinion was about whether it was a positive influence. The movies by Roland Dantes, the like Sticks of Death and those movies. Do you think that they help popularize the Filipino martial arts?
I think so. It doesn't matter whether you're in Philippines or Mexico or the United States. Our life is challenging. And we want to be entertained. And so when we go to the movies, these guys are like superheroes. They do things that you can't normally do. And then so that's part of that fantasy. It draws you in, and then you have to, so as a young kid, you research. Oh my gosh, Bruce Lee is amazing. Dante is amazing, and so then you got to figure out, what where you're gonna fit in, and find out what reality is, and so. But yeah, I think those action movies. I really appreciated those action movies. I was a big fan, and so I grew up mostly here in the United States. So. I remember the action movies when I was in the Philippines. I left when I was about 10, and then the rest were here, So I watched all of the Bruce Lee, Chinese, and then the Octagon with Chuck Norris and all those things, and then all the ninja movies. I enjoyed all those things, man. And all the way into adulthood, and so yeah. So I think absolutely. I think they're part of our culture. And so it it draws attention to what we do, and so we just have to let these young kids know what's fantasy and what's reality.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest problem of all, is teaching, separating that.
Yeah. And one thing about those action movies, there's always like a lesson to be learned,
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to train hard so you can, go after the guy that did you wrong, so you can become the hero, but you have to train hard, and so that was in most of those movies, that was the theme, right?
Absolutely.
Good guy trains hard to beat the bad guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for what you do for the martial arts. You are an icon within the FMA, and I say that with full respect. And
Thank you.
And people need to know that, and people need to know those that are real and those that are not. I can't say it any other. I can't be more blunt than that, but they're more frank than that. And we have to respect them all. And we cannot forget the people that come in and do that and touch others in such a way that you've influenced so many.
Thank you. I'm glad to be part of this wonderful community. I'm really privileged. I'm honored. Yeah.
Absolutely. Brother, we're going to go ahead and shut off. And I want to thank you once more for
Okay.
giving us the pleasure to talking to you and hearing what the side of Stockton and the FMA coming from one of its best. And then
Thank you.
for everybody else, thank you. Peace.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Blessings.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.